Hi there, it's Chelle. Just me. Today, he had to run down and do a job. But I wanted to show you guys really quick how we're going to bind this journal. So we're going to stick these signatures in this journal. So I know a lot of you guys know how to do this and you're probably sick of watching it being done. But I also know that we have some new people, and I kind of said that I would show pretty much every aspect of this, so I just wanted to kind of talk you guys through it. So, really simple. No, when you first try it, it won't be that simple. It'll be intimidating. I've been there. I think we've all been there. I like to use a really big phone book. I picked this up, well, you know, you get them all the time, and at the post office and all. And I will make sure and link all of this down below if you're looking for any of this. I do have big binder clips. These really come in helpful. This is a waxed thread. It's called, let's see if you guys can see it, just in case I forget, but if I do, let me know. It's main thread, and it's 0.02, and this is my favorite. I've used other stuff and I love that. Here are some templates. So I think I'm just going to talk you guys through on how I make the templates without making one. I think this is the right size. Yeah, see, that one's almost perfect. If you make some templates, then you don't have to do it every single time, and it's so much nicer than, you know, taking a minute and making them. And it doesn't take that long. What you want to do is cut down your template. Like in this case, my pages are about 8.5 and my spine's about 2. So that's about what this is. My template is 1.5 instead of 2, so I'm going to center it. But find the center, and then you're going to go from the center out. And what I do is I just do the 3-stitch, what's that thing? The pamphlet stitch, yeah. So the 3-hole pamphlet stitch. So I knew I wanted 3 holes. So I cut my paper, I measured out where the center is, and then off the center I went both ways. Well, go ahead and put your side lines through your center holes. And then I did a little hole punch where I marked my spots. So like in this case, the holes from the center are about 3/8 from the center line on both sides. And then I just went in about halfway, and then about 1 inch or so from the bottom, inch from the top. Put top, because that's going to be important. Even if you have it absolutely perfect and you get it upside down, your measurements may have been a little bit off, and it's not going to be as easy. So make sure you put top on there. Have your lines. This is the easiest one for me. I do use a 1/4 or 1/8 of an inch punch because I have one, or you could just use an awl. And then I put mine on just some cardstock, and I keep them, as you saw. I think you saw. And then I keep everything in this box. But I have several different size templates, so I don't have to do this every single time that I make a journal. So I have a lot. But, you know, more than likely I can find a template that's going to work. So that's the first thing you do. Then I want to do some measuring, and I need a pen, because did I think to grab one? No. Okay. I thought I had one. Okay, let me grab one really quick. Okay, and I'm just using this. It's just a pigment liner. I like to use these to write in my journals. And then you just want to kind of center your template in the middle of your journal. So that looks good, top to bottom, side to side. Okay, and then I'm just going to poke a hole, put a little mark. I like this because you don't have to like scribble or anything, and as long as you can see your marks. And yeah, I wrote on the page, but when you punch your holes and you put your signatures in, you're not going to really see that. So let me do another defuzz just in case. Okay. So then you can use, people use all things. I mean, some people make their bookbinding kits, like a wooden piece or whatever. Punching holes. Like I said, this is pretty simple. But this all I used, it was Clint's, and I think it was a leather awl, and it works really well for this. At least he said it was his, but I thought I got it at a yard sale. Okay, I'm not sure I got this one really good, so yeah, I guess I did. Okay, and then we're going to set that aside. All the holes have been punched. Can't really see them on the back. And, you know, I consider doing a hidden spine where you do the spine on a separate piece and then glue it down. But I didn't think it was really necessary in this case. So we're going to do it this way. And this is my first signature. So you always, 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 I mess up here. But you want to make sure that all of your papers are in the right direction, that, you know, they're in the order that you like, things like that. Now's the time, if you want to rearrange some stuff, now's the time to do that. Here's a belly band that you'll see tomorrow. And just kind of move them up or down or whatever you want to do. And I just kind of go through the book. Like I said, first thing I'm looking for is to make sure everything's going the right way. And yes, I have had some things upside down. And just take your time. And this is really, you know, an important part, because if you miss something, then you have to cut it out and try again. The first time I ever, sorry, first time I ever sewed in a signature, you guys, the book had 6 signatures in one piece of string for the whole book. And, you know, I was doing them upside down. I was having to redo all my signatures. It was just such a pain. So, this is how I like to do them, but you guys do however you like to do them. I am looking for this piece here. Where is it on this side? There it is. I kind of want this to go on top of that so it doesn't like get tangled up or anything. There we go. Okay. But yeah, it was a really big mess, so I really prefer to do it this way. I know this is the way I think that Gayle does it, that several other people do it, but you do whatever you're comfortable with. Take your time. You're not, you know, no one's timing you on this. And it is frustrating. It can really be frustrating. But just take your time. It'll all work out in the end, and you want to be, you know, do it really nicely. Especially if you're gluing down, you know, sometimes I would put like this on a piece, kind of like this, and you sew it onto this piece and then you glue it down into your book. Well, you can't redo that. So you want to make sure that that's done, and it's done well, because it's not fun when you mess up a whole book. However, everything can be fixed, right? If you have a page in your journal that, uh-oh, it was upside down, think about covering it up. Use a big pocket or something. Things can be fixed. And then I like to use these big old binder clips. It's kind of bulky, but we're going to make it work. And I go on the top, then on the bottom, and I like to just make sure it's really good and secure. There. Move it out just a little bit because you've got to get your hands in there. And then on this bottom. I used to have 4 of these, but Clint stole one. If he was here, he'd say he didn't, but he did. Trust me. Okay, and then I opened my book to about halfway. But we're going to go ahead and put our marks. So like this is why you would need this to say top and bottom. So you just want to make sure everything's on the top. Kind of look in there, make sure what you think is the top is the top. And that's the reason you want the cross lines. Because then you can get them, you know, perfectly lined up. So I just want to, it kind of shifted on me. I just want to move it back into place and do that. Okay, so we have those. Like I said, don't rush. It's easier the more you do. I've probably done 50 journals or something. So it's just kind of easier the more you do. I like to kind of open it, and you want to kind of push them closer together, just enough so you can get your hand in there. And I'll explain that in a minute. And then you're just going to poke a hole on those in that spine. Okay. Push it close together and poke a hole. Trying to remember to tell you guys everything that I learned the hard way. Okay. So, and when you're done, you should have holes right on the edge of the spine. If you don't do that part, or if you kind of do it like this and hold it open, and you try to push a hole, it might come like a ½ inch out, and it won't line up correctly. If that happens, check your holes. Remember what I told you, hold it closer and re-poke your holes. That's not going to be an issue. But, you know, kind of look through every little step of the way, because it's easier to fix it as you go than to come back. So again, I'm going to take my thread, and you want 3 lengths of whatever size your signature is. So 1, 2, 3. And I believe you need to have a dull needle, kind of like mine's really, really dull, because if it's really sharp, it'll kind of get caught on the pages and try to poke holes that weren't intended. So that's why I like the really dull needle. Like I said, it's just trial and error. You know, it's really easy. So you're at the front of the book. Make sure everything's the front. Make sure your book's not turned upside down. And we're going to start threading that in. So I know you guys probably know all this, but I just like to kind of talk some of you through it just in case. I like to go in the center, and you have your thread coming out, because you're going to have one shorter than the other. Okay, and then sometimes, like on this where you can't really tell where the hole is, I go on the inside, find the hole, kind of look, keep your eye on the hole. I think it was right there. Sometimes this part's kind of, that's funny, I can't see it. Okay, let's try it again. Okay, I see where the hole should be, right here. There we go. And then I want to make sure this is kind of flat, because it is, you always want to keep one out. It is lace, and sometimes, you know, that could get caught. And then we'll go through the bottom. For some reason, I prefer to go through the bottom. like that. Again, you need to hold on to this one if you're concerned about it. Sometimes I do. Then we go back in the middle. Can you guys hear those birds? It is so springish weather out. Told Clint if it's not going to snow, it should at least rain. I'd be okay with rain. Okay, so I'm going to check my thread, and it's going okay. So now we're at the top. I'm going to turn it around because sometimes it's just easier. And again, I think I'm going to have to punch a hole just to show me where it is, because there's so many holes here anyways that it's kind of hard to see. Maybe right through here. But see, if you use a sharp needle, it would just kind of poke it wherever. But the dull one will find the hole for you. And easy peasy, right? That was pretty simple. You guys can do this. Like I said, I had a lot of practice, especially when I first started out. It was so intimidating. I think it took me like 2 weeks before I got the courage to sew in my signature. And then what I like to do, make sure you're in the right holes, because see, I have 1, 2, 3 here. But sometimes you accidentally cross over, and so instead of the 3, it'd be like 1, 2, and then 3. So it will hang or show differently. Things like that happen, so just kind of keep in mind. Like I said, it's definitely easier to, you know, fix it now than later. I like to pick this up and just kind of give it a tug, make sure I don't have any gaps, because I don't want those gaps. Then I'm going to give it a tug, and I'm going to tie this. Did I show you? I went under the first string with my needle. I don't even know if I showed that. I'll show it on the next one. Then kind of like a square knot. And these guys, I'm going to leave them long because I think I have some butterfly charms that would be perfect hanging from those. So, and then once it's in really well, you can remove that. And then that is starting to become a book. I always love it becoming a book. I know, I'm odd. Okay, this is our second signature. I think this is my right side up. Again, just kind of go through it, make sure everything is where you want it to be. Nothing is distorted like this. Just kind of off. That's okay. This is the time to fix it. And if I have like a page that maybe it was crooked when I put it in, if it's not a big deal, you know, I might trim it down. I don't really mind having like wonky pages inside my book, but it's whatever you like. I very rarely would open it and take that out for that, you know, just for that reason. I'm going to go ahead, and I did learn a lesson. You want to go ahead and flip through the whole book, front and back, because I used to just look through the front. And if you have like a fabric flip in here, and maybe it is not hitting the right way, like you know, you didn't notice it because it's in the back of the book and you accidentally had it turned upside down, but because the page was the right way, or you know, maybe it was like a ledger page, something you didn't worry about, but on the back, you know, you think, oh, that's going the right way, but you could have put your fabric flip on the bottom of it and had it going, you know, so your fabric flip ends up backwards because you didn't, or upside down because you didn't check to make sure it was right from the back side, if that makes sense. So now I go through the whole book just to make sure. Just because it shows in the front that it's correct doesn't necessarily mean that it is in the back. So again, so I'm sorry if this is monotonous for you guys, but like I said, I have been there, and I remember how frustrated I was. I would get so frustrated poor Clint. Be like, honey, I can't do this. Be like, you can do it, you can do it. And then that first time I had to do, it was one piece of string, and you had to do it like 3 times 6, so it was like 18 lengths long, and that's what you were using to sew in 6 different signatures. And man, that was frustrating. It didn't take me long to come up with my own plan. I had to look around and find, you know, a different way. Again, this is why you have top there, and you want to make sure, especially like on these really kind of decorated papers, you want to make sure that you can see your dots. So if you have a dark paper, you might use a white pen. I have done that. And then again, we're just going to take it, do a really thin edge so it's in the bottom. So yeah, I had some twine that I would use, and it had a stretch to it. This stuff is kind of like dental floss. It doesn't have a stretch, and it's so much nicer than what I had before. But I would spend all this time trying to make sure it's a tight fit. To see how that one is, it's really nice. Can you see the holes? It's just a really nice. But yeah, it had a lot of stretch in it. So my earlier books had a lot of stretch. My signatures would kind of end up loose and stuff. I figured out, you know, like little cheats on how to make them work, even though it wasn't the best string job. But after I found this, it was just like, no, I'm not changing. I'm just gonna keep using this twine. Okay. And then my needle. And like I said, I just keep everything together. I know Miss Gayle does that, and a lot of people, Miss Diane I think does it. We keep all of our binding stuff together because you only need it when you're binding in journals. So double check that this is the top. Just want to make sure. Okay, where's my fabric flip? That's got to be either here or here. See, look what I did. It's totally off. It was upside down. Did you guys catch that? So we're going to try to make it work like this. Jeez, Michelle. Thankfully, it looks like my holes are okay. I was thinking these were upside down, and that didn't make any sense. So yeah, you want to make sure. And then we'll see how good my template is as far as being. Yeah, we all have those moments, guys. It's not just you. So I'm going to kind of just focus and see if I can't find the... Ooh, yay me. I don't know why I always go down. That's always my first one. Make sure that's hanging out. Sometimes, you know, I would put the little thread like underneath one of the clips or whatever, just to kind of make sure it stays. But yeah, we've all had our trials and tribulations of these journals. I was looking, I think I've been making them for 3 years. I did take a hiatus when I started making journal or stamps, because I was a stamp designer for a while. What I'm doing is just kind of going by this one and kind of going in the edge. Okay, let's see. Is it gonna line up? Looks like it's lining up good. Okay. It should be right around here. Sometimes this takes a little bit. Sorry, guys. Okay, there it is. Hopefully I found it. Found it! That's why I said, you know, my mother-in-law, I have to tell you guys this, she knits socks. We both do, and she taught me how to knit them, and she can finish tons of socks, tons of pairs of socks. Beautiful socks. But what she hates doing is the Kitchener stitch, which you close the toes with the Kitchener stitch. And so she'll have all these socks done, but she won't, oh, did you see that? Let me show you what I did. Okay, let's take this piece out. But she hates the Kitchener stitch. So she'll have like 5 or 10 pairs of socks done, knitted up. And the Kitchener stitch is kind of overwhelming for her. So she'll sit, she'll go into a dark or into a room, no cats, nobody talking to her, no phone in there, and she'll sit and she'll do Kitchener stitch on all of these socks. And it's because it just is intimidating, and that's kind of how this was to start with. But, you know, it always makes me laugh because she's like, Michelle, I have all these, you know, I just finished 5 pairs of socks, but they need the Kitchener stitch. I always say, Mom, I'll do it for you. No, she'll do it. Anyways, but that's kind of what this reminds me of, is sometimes it's intimidating and you just want to. So here's your thread through the last hole. You want to just kind of come over. Here's the string, and go underneath that string there. And that is going to help you pull it. Sorry, I do some things without thinking too much. And then again, I always double check that everything is tight. Give it another little tug. You have to be careful, especially with like greeting cards and stuff, because this will tear. And if you saw my last journal, it ripped my page. So depending on what kind of like scrapbook paper and stuff you have, you want to be careful with that. But this is a really good quality. So now, this is my fun part, because I love the, I love to see it done and actually into a book. So you can't really see the strings. That's one reason I didn't do a separate spine inside, and I think it looks really pretty. When you're doing that, you could put buttons or something on the back. That would have been really pretty here, but I didn't think about it, so. But, and then I always do a double check just to make sure it is, everything's laying the way I want it to. Everything's right side up and everything, because if it's not, and I start decorating it before I realize that, then, you know, that's when I'm going to have an issue. So I think, well, if I have to redo it, now's the time to redo it. And I have set pieces aside to dry. And like one, it was, Clint had actually made it for me. And I set it aside to dry while I put together my signature. And I had already sewed it in, and I looked over, and that piece that he spent all morning making for me was sitting on the side. So I had to cut it out and start over. But isn't this beautiful paper? I'm so excited. So I wanted to show you guys this before I continue with the signatures, or with the decorating. So yeah, I just like to kind of go through, make sure everything looks the way I want it to, make sure there's nothing that I need to do over. I just feel better, you know, the belly bands. You guys will see this. Oh, maybe it's already up. So this was a bonus video. I just wanted to kind of show you guys how to just sew in the signature. So it's not anything, you know, it's not a long video or anything. It doesn't take that long. Though, when you're first into it, it does, I tell you. Beautiful fabric flips. I've had such a blast with this journal, and from the comments, I think you guys have really enjoyed watching it. Good thing is I have more paper if I decide to do another one out of, you know, that paper. I do have a couple of ideas with the rest of that paper pack. We'll see. We'll see how it works out, though. What do you guys think? You think you can handle that? My friend up in Dove Creek, Donna. Hi, Donna, if you're watching. She's like, I don't know if I can do it. And I was sick that week, and she finally tried it, and she said, I did it. I was so proud of her. So, now we have a book. So, in the next video, we will start decorating. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this was helpful. Hope I gave you some tips that maybe kind of made you think. And for beginners, I hope you learn from my mistakes. But if you don't, remember, we all make them. Thank you guys for watching. Be sure and hit that subscribe button. Give this video a thumbs up. It really helps out our channel. And we will see you guys in the next video. See you soon. Bye.